Of course. Thank you, Byron. Thank you. Welcome into the live stream. It is the Pillow Talk edition, the second of two streams that we do each and every day. I am Pugs Moran. We call this one Pillow Talk with Pugs and Parker. Can you hear me now? All right, come on. Tell me when you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? 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 Because the last thing I'm seeing is that you can't hear me. But I'm hoping you can hear me. Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much. Seriously, I don't need this shit tonight, guys. I don't need this shit tonight. It has been a day. Parker's hiding. I don't know where he is. All right, so let me get these crap out of the way. We do these, I do these streams twice a day. The first one, high noon, we do it every day, Monday through Friday, from noon till about 2 o'clock. We cover all the current events, anything that's trending, all the things that people are talking about. Like I say, I do that one alone. This one, Pillow Talk, James Parker typically joins me, thus the title, Pugs and Parker. We call it Pillow Talk, and it's a little bit more free form. We don't really have to prep as much for it. And, we give you about an hour of this. Just a little check-in for the evening, see how your night's going. First of all, let me just say, look at me. I look like a homeless person. I know. It has been, I believe the word is doozy. I believe it has been a doozy of a day. Let me walk you through my day. I'm taking our pull off this. I haven't eaten anything. It's like I've barely eaten anything all day. I had like some rice. Some Spanish rice, because every day I look at my fat freak self in this camera and I think, you're disgusting. No one will ever love you. Nah, I don't really think like that, but you know what I mean? So I woke up extra early today after having a terrible night's sleep. Do you know why? Do you know what? I can tell you, it all started after midnight last night because I was hungry, because I was on a diet and I'm not eating a whole lot of stuff. So you know what I did? I made me a great big bowl of beef broth. There's not many calories in that. It says 10 calories. I can do that. And then I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut up some onions. I'm going to cut up some carrots. And I'm just going to make like a beef broth vegetable kind of deal here, right? There's probably, a whole bowl of it. There's probably only going to be about 40, 50 calories in it. So I scarf that down and it tastes good and it's delicious. And then like an hour later, oh my God, does the expression in one end, out the other mean anything to? It was like a water slide. It was like a fire hose. It was just unbelievable. And it continued. My digestive system did not know what to do with the pure beef broth. And it just went, we can't make anything out of this. It was an awful night's sleep. I would say easily for the first, like an hour. So I did it. And then an hour later, it was like, got to go to the bathroom. Then I was done with that, got in bed, put on the TV, started watching TV, just got comfortable. And, oh, God, glug, glug. That thing happens inside you where it's glug, glug. I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom again. Go to the bathroom. This went on and on for the better part of 45 minutes, where like every couple of minutes I had to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, how much beef broth did I eat? This is way too descriptive. I know you don't need to hear this, but it's setting the whole template for the day that I've had. All night long. And another thing that was weird, it was like I was so thirsty. I think there was too much sodium in the beef broth or something. So I was so thirsty. So I was like chugging water. So now when I do finally get all of that beef broth out of me, and now I'm going to sleep, and I've just chugged 2 these size glasses of water before bed. So now every 45 minutes, like clockwork, I'm waking up anyway to go do the other thing in the bathroom because I just chugged like 2 giant things of water. So horseshit night's sleep, to say the least. But also, I got to wake up extra early today. I had to wake up extra early because I had to do, I like to do my prep for the high noon show. That's typically about 2.5, 3 hours of just reading, watching the news, kind of trying to get a feel on what's happening today. What can we talk about? What should we avoid? All of those kinds of things. And, but I had to wake up extra early. Pugs, why'd you have to wake up extra early today? Well, because an old radio friend of mine passed away Oh, there's Parker. There he comes. All right. Welcome in to Save the Day. I'm in the middle of a story here. It's Parker. All right, so I had to wake up extra early today because I needed to prep a little bit. There was going to be an interruption in my prep. That interruption came at 10 o'clock where I had to watch a funeral. I had to watch a funeral live stream for my friend Les Grobstein, one of the great sports radio guys of all time. Just he passed away suddenly over the weekend. And were I in Chicago, although I don't think I would have gone because it looked like a closed private ceremony. My buddy, our buddy, James, our buddy Mitch gave the eulogy. It was like just beautiful. It was just
Oh, wow. One of those guys, huh?
Oh, it was big. It was a hardcore, Jewish send off for the Grobber, and he deserves it because the Grobber was a funny guy. Dude,
Hey, just pardon my ignorance, but what makes a Jewish send off different?
Well, I really don't know. I don't think I can put my finger on exactly what was different about it other
They
than
like step on a glass or anything?
No, but it looked nothing like a Catholic funeral. It looked nothing. There was none of the pomp and circumstance in in a Catholic funeral. The priest has the thing
Incense or
filled with
something?
incense. Yeah, and he does that. And there's just shit tons of people in uniforms. Altar
Yeah,
boys in full
that's
regalia.
weird, dude. That's weird. Protestants don't do that either.
Yeah, because you guys just phone it in. We send people off big. It's big. It's very formal. It's very anyway. So the Jewish thing was a little bit smaller. It was being live streamed. Everybody had the yarmulkes on. That's something that's different. There's headwear involved in a Jewish send off, and that was really beautiful. That took about an hour and 15 minutes. So after that, I was able to go back to my prepping. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm done. I watched it. It was very nice. I went back to it. Then I do the High Noon Show. And I think objectively, anybody listening to the High Noon Show, it was a good show today. It was pretty good. I know. I thought it was too. Thank you for saying that. I enjoyed today's High Noon Show, James Parker. Maybe you could check it out. Pugscast.com is the direct link to it. Get you caught up on all the things that people were talking about today. So I'm rolling. I'm doing a really good show. And then all of a sudden my phone goes, and it's my kid. It's Mace. It's Mace calling in the middle of the show. Now he knows when I do the show. So I'm like, oh God, something's up. So I have to pause the show. I have to deal with him. And, no details, but there's a bit of a family situation going on over there. And he's coming here for the weekend. So there were things that I needed to be kept abreast of. So I handle that. I go back to the show. Now my rhythm is off. And now I feel like the whole last 25, 30 minutes of the show is a little bit weird because I'm thinking about my kid and I promised I'd call him back as soon as the show was over. If you were there, you remember. So that happens. When I do end up calling him back, it turns into a whole thing without giving, look, my boy's a private citizen. Without getting into the whole thing, there was a whole thing, right? There was a whole thing. It was emotional. There were some raised voices. There were a few threats. But eventually it all got worked out. It's all fine. We're buddies again, and everything is good. So that happens. And then I run to the store. Let's see, that was fine. So I woke up. Oh, you missed the whole thing about the night's sleep. I had some bad food last night. I was in the bathroom all night. So I had like really bad sleep, woke up extra early because I knew I was going to be delayed with my prep because of the funeral. So I had to wake up earlier to do some prep. So now I'm not eating anything because remember last night, it's like, I still don't feel good. I feel weird. So I come home and, a thing happened without really going.
Come on, man. You can't say what happened.
Well, people in the chat room are talking about a thing happened, and it wasn't good. And I've spent the last 5 hours probably talking to people that I haven't spoken to in a very long time. People that I used to work at radio stations. We're all trying to figure shit out. We're like, what's going on here? Anybody knows this a thing? Is this? And again, James, you and I decided we're not going to really go into it, right?
Well, then don't talk about it. If we're not going to talk about it, then don't talk about it.
Well, everybody in the chat room is already talking about it. It was like the first thing.
Two people.
Nah, my Facebook.
I can ignore
Twitter.
Far more than that.
All right, that's fine. But I'm just trying to let you know why I have absolutely nothing planned for today's show. It has been a hell of a day. It has been an awful day. I still haven't eaten anything. I sure as shit ain't gonna have beef broth again after the show. That wrecked me. That was terrible. But how are you? How was your day today?
My day was okay. Kind of busy. I was going to bring up that in Illinois they're building a Gen X museum. Did you see this?
I did not. Tell me about it. You want to do your monologue first?
Did I even send you a script?
I don't know. Do you have a script? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Can I just wing it?
Yeah, you can just wing
No,
it, but
you know what? Today, let's just free ball it today. We don't. Don't worry about it. If you don't want to do it, although I did fix the volumes on our things. I figured out how to fix it.
I don't even. Do I have it done?
Don't
Oh, I
worry
do
about
have
it.
it done. No, I have it here.
Not a big deal. Let's just phone it in. Unless you want to do it. I did make a specific effort to get our volume situation fixed. Oh, and also, I'm just like a homeless person. Typically, I like to, put on a little something. I like to, try and look, at least I try to shave, I don't want to look at this. I got like, my beard is starting to like curl because I didn't trim it up today. I didn't shower today. And I probably should have because all the time I spent in the bath. I am disgusting. This sweater that I'm wearing is literally 25 years old today. This sweater is 25 years old. It is hideously ugly. I know you're saying that. You're saying, oh my God, that sweater is so ugly. It shows up strangely on the HD. I bought this sweater for $5 American from a sheep farmer in Ireland who was just selling them at the end of his driveway. He just had a little stand with all of these sheep sweaters that he would shear the sheep, and then his wife would, knit them all up. And I
It's
thought,
called wool.
it's wool. Oh, 100% wool. It's why I got a shirt on underneath. You can't wear this on your bare skin, man. This thing is like a rash producer like you've never seen. So I look like a bum. I'm drinking. It's been a hell of a day. I have very little prepped for today. I'm glad you're here. I was just going to start ranting about stuff, which, maybe some people would enjoy. But I'm glad that you've joined today. I mean, I knew you were, but.
Give me 5 jokes.
You want to do it?
Yeah, give me 5.
All right. You got it. Hold on.
I'll give you my 5 worst jokes.
Okay. Hold on.
Of the day.
We're going to do a monologue. Oh, I only need to open one because that's all I need.
And you got the volumes right, so it's all fixed.
Well, let's hope, right? I think I figured it out. All right, let's give it a try. Here you go.
Can y'all comment about something else, please?
All right, please welcome into the 1%. Is the volume any better? It's better than yesterday, right? It's still low.
It's the same level of suck. See?
Can't be the same level of. Is that better?
No, see what it sounds like is you have some sort of, like when you go into settings, that little gear there under your preview window or under your screen.
Yeah.
You go under audio and then where it says like echo cancellation or noise suppression.
Yeah.
Are those on? Turn them off. Or if they're off, turn them on. I forget which one, but mine are all off.
Yeah, they're all off. They're all. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but when the music's going and you talk at the same time, it sounds like y'all are trying to compress with each other.
All right, just go.
Sure.
Just go. Just let it roll. All right.
All right. DePaul University is now offering students a choice of 9 gender identity options, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Only 9? All right. Hey, you're with me.
That volume sounded good.
That did much better. All right. Hey, so yesterday, President Biden held his first formal news conference in 10 months, but he did such a good job. He was up there for 2 hours, and after he was done, his visiting angel gave him an extra pudding cup. I appreciate the applause. Very supportive crowd today.
I think they thought that was the punchline.
In North Korea, well, he did do good. He was up there for 2 hours. Anyway. In North Korea, the world's worst zoo.
Yeah, he didn't once tell people to inject Lysol into their veins. Continue, James.
In North Korea, the world's worst zoo is being condemned after reports of depressed animals. It's so bad, the polar bears are bipolar. Oh, you didn't have to laugh at that one. That was a pity laugh.
I'm just hitting randoms.
Okay. That makes sense then. Didn't deserve that. All right. According to a new study, the average sex act lasts 5.4 minutes, which raises an important question. Why does Pugs have to pay for the full hour?
Oh, a little quick on the scene, but I saw where that was heading.
And finally,
Oh, finally, really? Okay.
it was on this day in 1969, Richard Nixon was inaugurated as president. Unfortunately, the Watergate scandal really overshadowed some of Nixon's many successes, like recruiting Elvis to lead the war on drugs.
Hi.
That didn't really work out so well, did it?
Yeah, no, it worked out well. The volumes were much better.
No, I mean picking Elvis as the ambassador to the war on drugs.
Did you ever seen that movie on Amazon Prime, Elvis and Nixon? It depicts how that whole thing went down.
Yeah,
It's pretty interesting.
Hang on, I'm messing up my stuff here. I did not see that. I think I watched like the promo for it. No, I think I walked through the living room when my wife was watching it, and I watched like 5 minutes of it and went on with my life. Do I need to go back and watch that?
Well, it's fun. I mean, if you like satirical depictions of true historical events, it's fun. Yeah, it's worth watching. I enjoyed it. I did.
I might. I wanted to. I just didn't get to it.
Because I've always loved that. I've always loved that story, and it depicts it a little bit differently than I imagined it. Like Nixon didn't want anything to do with that, but it was Elvis, man. He was pushing for it, man. And they just all the people in the White House just wanted to meet Elvis, so they convinced Nixon to say, just give it to him. Just let him. It was all Elvis's idea, which hard to believe, but it was all Elvis's.
What, the war on drugs stuff?
No, man. Oh no, I'm talking about how Elvis got deputized as a DEA agent by Nixon, and he had a badge and everything. You don't know this story? Elvis,
not really.
Elvis he'd sit in his driveway at Graceland. If you've ever been to Graceland, and I have because I'm banned for life from Graceland. He used to sit at the end of his driveway in his Cadillac, and when people would speed by, Elvis would pull out after him, and he had a little light.
Like, he's one of those guys. I love those guys.
And he would chase people down, and they would see this like fancy Cadillac, coming after him. And so they'd pull over, and then Elvis in full regalia would like walk over to the car, man, and he'd have the DEA badge, and he'd be like, "Hey, man, you're going too fast." Like he'd pull people over. Come on, like that isn't the greatest story. I got pulled over by Elvis Presley once. What? No, you didn't. No, I did. I really.
But somebody that happened to, and no one believes him to this day.
Well, it's been documented enough in a number of books. There's a whole bunch of books about how quirky Elvis was and like the crazy weird stuff he used to do.
That's weird.
You want to talk about a predator before we knew what predators were. He had an entire wall in his swimming pool changing room that was two-way glass, and he and the boys would just sit there. They'd invite all these girls over, try some bathing suits. We'll be in the other room, man. And they would just sit in the room and watch these girls all try on bathing suits.
Wow, he did that?
Yeah, like Porky's. Also, he had a monkey that was like, it was called Horny the Monkey. And the monkey would like train to like grab boobs and touch girls in like inappropriate places. And he would be up in the jungle room, which is where the monkey would play. Elvis had his famous jungle room. And the girls, come on up, I'll show you the jungle room. And hey, Sonny Red, get the monkey. And the monkey would just like start running around. These girls would be like, Elvis. They'd be jumping on him and groping him. And Elvis would just laugh.
All right, now, tell me about this jungle room now.
Oh, you know about the jungle room?
No.
Elvis had a jungle room. It was, first of all, okay, so, I am an expert on Graceland, having been banned for life.
For life.
For life. Can't go.
They don't just hand those out. You got to earn that.
No, yeah, you gotta disrespect the king, man. So, first of all, Graceland is not that impressive. It's just like a regular house you'd see in Plano. It's like, it would be the smallest house on this block. It really would. It wouldn't even fit in Highland Park, Texas. But, he was basically raised in a cardboard box in the hills, right? Tupelo, Mississippi. So for him, it was a really nice modern house. Now, what is impressive about Graceland is the property it sits on. It's a little tiny house on this wicked huge front lawn, massive backyard that goes on forever. I mean, it's probably like a 3,000 square foot house, Yeah, it's 1950s 50s, 1960s modern, so it looks weird by today's standards. But every room he had decorated differently, and he had one room that was the jungle room, and it was all decorated. Let me see, I'll pull up some pictures of Elvis's jungle room just so you can get an idea of what the jungle room. And
Oh, how fun! Yeah, do that.
he had Horny the monkey, and the monkey would run around. All right, Elvis.
That's kind of like overtly predatorial to have a monkey trained to do that, and you name the monkey Horny.
Horny the monkey. Do you know that when you put Elvis and then just write J after Elvis, jungle room pics come up? So yeah, we're onto something. All right, let's see. Let's make these good. All right. Hopefully, you can tell from this room that this is not like a super impressive house. This is just like a room that a kid you grew up with might have. Look at that. There's the jungle. It's bad wood paneling, green shag carpeting.
Levels, man. Levels.
See that? Okay.
Okay.
So there's more. Come on, man. And the monkey used to just shit on the carpet, and there was animal feces everywhere. Are these pictures switching as I?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a big room. It is not a big house. It is not an impressive house. So what are you going to do?
Okay, so this isn't for nothing. This clearly says the man's on drugs.
It clearly says the man's a hillbilly. That's what it says. Look at this room. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Wait, here. Let's see if we could just keep. Man, let's just see a picture of Graceland so you can just see what I mean. I mean, maybe when we pull it up, it'll be like, oh no, that's a nice house. But I just remember thinking, okay, so like the king of rock and roll should have a cooler house than this.
Bro, I think Byron knows more about Graceland than you do.
He does not a chance of it happening. All right, so there's
look at that comment there. He's saying Graceland was built in the 30s. Elvis remodeled in the early 60s. The jungle room used to be part of the backyard that Elvis enclosed, and that looks fantastic. That looks like the opening scene to Benson. Remember the opening sequence?
No, you're right. Okay, so from the front, it does look good, but it doesn't go back far. It's not like it's not like it's this expansive 10,000 square foot beautiful mansion. I mean, it's really not that. Byron's been there 3 times. What are you going 3 times? What the fuck? Why? You got to go more than see something.
Didn't he from up there? Didn't he live up there for a while or something?
Oh, well, if you live there, okay, that's the only excuse for going to Graceland more than once. It's the only excuse.
Really?
Yes, because
I think my mom's been more than once.
No. See, that's weird. That's odd. What are you doing? Go somewhere else. Go to Nashville. What are you doing? Why you got to go to? The only reason to go there more than once is the same as it's the only reason to go to Dealey Plaza more than once, because you live there and people come into town and you have to take them there. That's like the only reasonable excuse. That's it. I mean, once with a buddy, took my daughter, then dad wanted to see it. But you didn't have to go. There's nothing I don't get. Memphis is a fun city, though. You can have fun in Memphis. So I once gave my son the choice. We were in Memphis. We were passing through and we were spending a day there. And I gave him the choice. I said, all right, we got time to see one thing. We can go to Graceland or we can go to where Martin Luther King got shot, which is the National Civil Rights Museum. And he goes, I want to go to the National Civil Rights Museum. I go, all right, that's my boy. That's my boy. We don't need to go hang out at some hillbilly's house with a bunch of weirdos. Although Graceland is fun if you're like, I love Elvis. I love the silliness of Elvis. I love how him pulling people over on Elvis Presley Boulevard. I love him setting Horny the monkey loose in the jungle room.
How old was Priscilla when they started dating?
15.
You sure it was 15? Wasn't it 14?
Might have been 16. I don't know. I just threw out 15. I just knew that she was crazy underage. She was in Germany. He was in Germany in the army. She was the daughter of his, I don't know, like colonel or whatever. And he got invited.
I don't know these things.
Yeah, I love Elvis. I love the Elvis story. I love the silliness of Elvis. I think Elvis is a freak show anomaly. I think that he is someone that needs to be celebrated because he acquired heights that there is no explanation for. There is no explanation for the heights of popularity and success that Elvis Presley achieved. And I, as someone of limited talent, have to just say, I mean, he was a good performer and he was a beautiful singer. But he didn't write anything. He didn't produce anything. He didn't play any instruments. He wasn't particularly interesting when he spoke. He was a terrible actor. All of these things. And yet, he's still to this day the king of rock and roll. Elvis Presley, John Wayne, and Bob Hope. Those are the three that I just don't get. I applaud them. I applaud them for making it despite an obvious lack of ability. But those are three people who achieve superstardom. And I maybe it was easier, right? Right? Maybe it was easier when rock and roll was brand new and they were just looking for, because pound for pound, Elvis Presley wasn't in Buddy Holly's league. And I know that Buddy Holly died, but I mean, Buddy Holly was a writer, a producer. He basically invented how rock and roll music is produced in a studio. He worked with bands. He was a genius, And then Elvis was just a good looking guy who drove the girls nuts and could sing pretty.
Well, Elvis seems to be in the lineage, the evolutionary tree of boy bands.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and so yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like Justin Timberlake, whatever that
Mhm.
he seems to be. And is he the first one that's really like that? I mean, does Frank Sinatra
No,
count as like
yeah,
some sort of boy band that appeals to
absolutely.
13 to 20-year-olds or whatever?
Dude, have you ever heard the expression Bobby Soxer? That was the term was coined for Frank Sinatra. Frank
Okay,
Sinatra
now
was
how old was Frank
phenomenal.
Sinatra at the time?
22, 23.
Okay. So he was like the first little teenage heartthrob.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Here's an interesting fun fact about Frank Sinatra and why he broke through so quickly and why he was so unique. Frank Sinatra's rise in popularity and playing to big crowds coincided with the perfection of the microphone. The microphone before Frank Sinatra. Remember, people used to, "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey." They used to sing through the megaphones and stuff because they didn't
Yes.
have that kind of technology. So Frank Sinatra came up, and suddenly these microphones are able to pick up the subtlest changes in your voice, and that's where the crooning began, where you were able to sing more subtly, and the people in the back rows could hear you. That's really what exploded Frank Sinatra, was that he was the first person to go, "I can sing different, baby," and they dig it. That's what he did. Yeah.
All the dames and the broads.
All the dames and the broads and the bobby soxers in the back row, they can hear my coos. He was a crooner, different kind of
So he
singing.
was the first of that ilk.
One of the first, the first to truly, take advantage of the fact that you could change the way you sang and vocalized because of the
Okay, no, no,
technology.
no, but as far as like this sort of boy band,
Yeah,
Justin Bieber,
probably.
he's ground zero for that. Was there anyone between him and Elvis?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, but
Yeah.
we're talking about the big ones. We're talking about the cornerstone guys. I would say Frank Sinatra. I would say
Ricky
Elvis.
Nelson or something.
Yeah, Ricky Nelson was was an Elvis Presley clone. Like there's Bobby Darin. There are all kinds of like Elvis Presley knockoffs that came after him. But yeah, no, it was Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, right? I mean, then you get into the Osmonds, maybe, where the boy bands start to take over. And then, here we are in the late 90s with Boys to Men and 98 Degrees and what was the other one? New Kids on the,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, Backstreet Boys,
And
In
now they're
Sync.
all Korean. Now they're all Korean. It's back, but they are all
One Direction is not still a thing, but that was kind of close. Hey, so
America, America doesn't even produce boy bands anymore.
can I steer back into
Yeah.
the Gen X museum because I was
Okay.
actually going to make a point and I
Okay.
totally forgot. Um, so we made a list because they actually asked for donations,
Mhm.
and
Are you
contributions.
Gen X?
I think, yeah, I'm Gen X. I'm on the tail end of Gen X because they
What
say
year
it's if
were you
you're
born?
born from 77.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So contributions for exhibits, and so the list is what deserves to be in the Gen X museum. Like, what did Gen X have that the Boomers didn't have and the Millennials didn't have? And so it'd be something like beepers, or like I think a great example would be Crystal Pepsi.
Mixtapes.
Yeah, mixtapes on cassette, because
Yeah.
my parents didn't do that
Well,
and my kids didn't do that.
that's a tape. Yeah, it's a mixtape. Yeah, on a cassette.
Yeah, the old mixtape. So
Mhm.
Atari, Nintendo, like the old Nintendo. My parents didn't play it, but my kids didn't play it either. A Walkman.
Yeah, walk, but not only a skateboard. Oh no, I mean we brought the skateboard first, but I guess I guess everybody after us used skateboards too.
Hmm, hmm.
Uh,
So a VHS tape of something. So VHS only existed in our heyday.
mhm.
Um,
VHS
so
tape of Miami Vice.
right, Miami Vice. Has there been a remake of it though? Is it part of a larger franchise?
Yeah,
Because
there was a remake back in the early 2000s. So okay, so let's
like you couldn't,
I don't know. How about a
like
mixtape?
Thundercats.
How about a mix? How about a VHS of the Challenger explosion? Something like
Oh
that.
my god.
Something like, well, you wanted something
Well, the
specific,
boomers experienced that. The boomers had to deal with the Challenger explosion.
I guess.
I don't think that's. What about would you say roller skating rinks count, because that was kind of maybe a little bit before my time,
I'm
but
sorry, I'm
then but
distracted because I'm trying to figure out where this is gonna be. It's not in Chicago, it's in Illinois, it's gonna be in Springfield. Okay, what was your question?
what about skating rinks, roller skating rinks? Do they
Yeah,
still
man.
really do that? They
Yeah,
still
man.
do that, don't they?
No,
Okay, so
no,
we
do
can't
they
call
still?
it.
No, they don't still do. Not the way we did it, baby. Every Saturday, you'd go to the skating rink. Your mom would drop you off. Couple skate to a Cool in the Gang ballad, maybe some Journey. Maybe they'd put on some Faithfully. Highway Run. You don't know Journey Faithfully?
Oh,
Under
I know Journey
the
faithfully.
midnight sun. Dude, you need to ask her to skate. No way, she's gonna skate with me. Yeah, that was Gen X. Galaga,
Yeah, she was skating with David earlier, and I think she likes him better. So
how about like some nice Jordache jeans, some
see,
Vidal
now we're talking like parachute
jeans.
pants. Parachute pants
No,
could make it.
nope, that wasn't us. That was a little bit later. That was a
You
pair.
sure?
Oh, dude, no, you're right. No, I'm sorry. You are absolutely
Not
right.
hammer pants,
No, no, you're right.
parachute pants.
And not
Yeah.
Zubas. I was thinking Zubas. Absolutely right. Parachute pants. That's mid '80s, totally. 1985 through absolutely.
Boomers did not wear parachute pants. Millennials did not wear parachute pants.
The
Did you
mullet.
ever the
The
the,
mullet is stuck around.
the mullet?
It's stuck
Maybe.
around. It's stuck around though.
Okay, try this one then. Did you ever tight roll the bottom of your pants?
Oh, French cuffs. Absolutely. Absolutely all the time. We call them French cuffs. I don't know if you call them tight rolls.
Tight
How,
rolls.
how about a fine members only jacket with some nice Jordache jeans that are French cuffed at the bottom? Ooh, some Nike Oceanas. Oh man, now we're looking 1986.
I guess you're just made of money, huh?
Man,
I also like. What about this idea? A three wheeler, because they didn't have three wheelers for when the boomers were in their heyday. They had them when we were in our heyday, and then enough people killed themselves that they stopped making them, and all you can get is a four wheeler. Really,
we used to call them ATVs. So
they're
yeah.
still called ATVs, but they don't make the three wheel variety anymore
Oh,
because
they
too
don't?
many people. Because there's an obvious flaw in the design. It basically flips you off if you hit the wrong angle. Where the
Byron,
four wheelers.
Byron, I don't have to look up Wayne Cochran. I know who Wayne Cochran is. He's a legend. Z Cavarici, Byron also suggests. Yeah, man. How about
Mm-hmm.
gel shoes? Do you remember gel shoes?
Yeah, the
Boat shoes?
jellies.
Yeah.
What about here's the big one: hypercolor.
Mhm.
Boomers didn't wear hypercolors. Millennials didn't wear hypercolors.
Nope. You touch a girl's boob and your handprint, the evidence was left behind.
Oh my goodness! Are you just making a joke about sexual assault, Pugs?
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying. I'm just
if you had
saying
proper consent, you
that,
would.
James, there was no sexual assault in the '80s. What's wrong
No,
with
that's
you?
silly.
It's just
That's
boys being boys
mm-hmm.
and girls taking it.
Just a boob. Yeah.
It's just a boob.
um, did you like Crystal Pepsi?
Here was my problem with Crystal Pepsi. There was nothing wrong with the taste of Crystal Pepsi. Crystal Pepsi tasted exactly like regular Pepsi. The problem is that it was a mental mind trip out because it looked like 7 Up. So when you had it like this and you're looking at it in the bottle and you take the sip, your mind is not. Did you ever accidentally drink vodka and you think it's water? You know, like your body kind of freaks out for a second because your brain is prepared for water and it's not water, or anything like that. I guess you could do it with any kind of
I know exactly what you're saying because that's exactly how I feel about Crystal Pepsi. You're not expecting this caramel color. You're expecting something light, fruity,
Yep,
sweet, not
crisp.
this savory kind of almost salty
Right.
sweet. Right.
Yeah.
So
So
I
you
had the exact same problem. Like I could close my eyes and drink it and be like, I can't tell the difference. I open my eyes, I'm like, this is weird.
this is wrong. Yeah, my brain is saying that those things are not adding up here. This is not how it's supposed. So that was my issue with Crystal Pepsi.
Well, the one thing I liked about Crystal Pepsi is they kind of made the point in a Saturday Night Live skit where they made a fake commercial for since Crystal Pepsi is such a success, we're going to try it with other products. And one of the other products they had was Crystal Gravy. And so it's this really thick, clear sludge that looks like shampoo or something. And they're pouring it on like a
Nope.
turkey and mashed potatoes.
Nope.
And it might taste exactly the same, but I ain't eating that. That even if it tasted exactly 100% like gravy,
The
you,
fact
you couldn't get past it.
the fact of the matter is that most of our processed food stuffs that we ingest happily, all, if left to their own devices, look like shampoo. All of the coloring and food dye and all that stuff is added so that we don't freak out when we see it. But everything is basically like that, a translucent gel. like
Like pond water kind of color.
it's like
Yeah.
some kind of translucent gel, but they add all of this food coloring and stuff to it to make it more palpable to our senses.
Yeah,
How
they're gonna have these in the future. It'll be like MREs where it's just this nutrient paste,
Mhm.
and you can pick your texture and you can pick your flavor, and it'll kind of. It's like you see it coming because they already did it with the beverages. If you've gone to the Coke machine where you can pick whatever Coke you want, so you can get the Dr Pepper with cherry and vanilla, and didn't we talk about that before? The what are those Coke machines called where you can get the one of 1,000 choices?
The ones that send boomers and elder Gen Xers into a panic whenever they have to use one because they don't look anything like a soft drink dispenser that we've ever seen.
But you know what I'm talking about though, the new
No,
Coke
exactly.
machines where you can okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So there's a name for them though. I just can't remember it, and I feel stupid for not remembering. Now
It's a
I feel
soda
like
it's a
an
new
old
soda
person.
dispenser. You're talking about the ones that they're always styled as like an old-fashioned Coke machine, but
But
then
it
it's
has a touch
yeah,
screen, and
yeah.
you choose your thing.
Mhm.
And I was just having this conversation with someone else the other day, and we were using the name for it. Now I can't remember. But that's what food will be like. You can see it. You say, "All right, I want this texture. I am on a diet, or I am trying to gain weight, or I have high blood pressure, or I am diabetic, or I am kosher, or whatever it is." So you'll get whatever the base is supposed to be, and then you'll add your flavoring. What do you want it to taste like? You want it to taste like steak? You want it to taste like wedding cake? You want it to taste like a bag of Skittles?
Mhm.
And so then you just get it out, and that's coming. That
Oh,
is
yeah.
absolutely coming.
Will it come out like a frozen yogurt, so it'll just be like steak paste, and you'll just eat it with a spoon, and it'll
You'll
taste
choose your texture. You'll
it
choose your texture.
but it will taste exactly like steak. It will.
Oh yeah.
It will.
It tastes like the best steak you've ever had.
It'll just look so unappetizing. That's where we're heading. That's life is not getting better, folks. It's getting
Well,
that.
the closest we have to that right now is that sort of toothpaste that they make the astronauts eat when they're
Mm.
on their way. Astronaut paste, yeah.
Yeah, I've eaten astronaut food. We go to the Museum of Science and Industry, me and the boy, whenever we're in Chicago. It's one of the best
Have
things.
you eaten the paste,
Oh yeah, I've eaten all the stuff. I've had chicken and dumpling paste. I bought some of that.
Byron? Freestyle machines. Thank you. The freestyle machine. That's exactly what I was trying to think of. The
Oh, is that what
freestyle
they're
machine.
called?
Yeah, the Coke
That's the
freestyle
soda
machines.
okay. Yeah, you can get the, Dippin' Dots, that's astronaut food. They just repackaged it and sold it to kids as candy. But you can get like ice cream at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Oh,
It's astronaut ice cream. You can get astronaut sandwiches, which is just like a graham cracker that tastes like a turkey sandwich. So weird. It is so weird. And then yeah, I've had the paste, which was chicken and dumpling paste, and it's just like a little tube, looks like a travel size toothpaste, and you just put it on a cracker, maybe. I don't know. In space, I don't think they are crackers.
no,
But
you just straw it into your mouth.
yeah, yeah. And they need to work on the taste. I would say this. It is reminiscent of chicken and dumplings, but I don't it's not. I still want the kind that my first ex-wife made. She made great chicken and dumplings. That's not going to replace that anytime soon.
I am so jealous you've gotten to eat all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you just come with me. Come next time. Bring the kids. We'll go to the Museum of Science and Industry. Your kid will throw a temper tantrum when you cannot buy him the $200 full-on astronaut uniform. That was a big fight that we had right next to the Apollo 11 lunar lander, which is there at the museum. He's
Mhm.
throwing a tantrum at 8 years old because he wants the authentic NASA zip up, the orange suits that they wear under. He wants that, and he's making his case. And I'm like, I'm gonna spend $200 for that. Are you out of your
No.
mind? We are
Nope.
not. First of all, you're 8. It will fit you for 2 weeks. We are not going
Mhm.
to spend $200 on something that in a month from now you will have outgrown because
And
you are
nobody's gonna buy it anyway. No one's gonna think you're really an astronaut, so
no
stop it. Oh,
exactly.
hey, and I have an idea if they ever talk to me in Springfield about this museum, there
Yeah,
has to be a whole wing that is set up like an arcade, because that is a Gen X only thing.
yeah,
Boomers didn't hang out in arcades when they were growing up. We
no,
did.
yeah.
Millennials didn't hang out in arcades when they were growing up either. It was done.
I
Uh,
have
the,
it right here. Dateline Springfield, Illinois. Generation X may be perfectly happy being the forgotten generation as baby boomers and millennials and Gen Z call each other out on social media. No, honestly, we're happy to be on the sideline for all that nonsense. We're
yeah,
fine.
they got that right.
Leave us out of it, man. We're good. This is one case where the forgotten generation, and we are the forgotten
We're
generation.
just watching spears go over our head.
Ha-
Just
Have, have you ever? And no, what's going to happen is when it gets too far, you guys are going to come to us and you're going to be like, broker a piece of cord. That's eventually what's going to happen between the millennials and the boomers because millennials hate boomers, boomers hate millennials. And have you ever heard my theory on who we are as a generation? I have a very well thought out theory.
I
Man,
think we talked about this before. We were
we might
had the analog childhood and a digital adulthood. We
Well,
span the gap.
well, no, yes, we are the most important generation because of that fact. We are the last. We are the last generation of humans who lived in both eras. I mean, boomers to some extent, but many of the boomers, died before 2000. But for the most part, the hulk of our generation, we were perfectly fine in the analog world, and then we adapted. We are the last people. Actually, this goes for almost all of us who are over, say, 25 years old. Anyone who's alive today who's over 25 years old. We are the last human beings who will ever have existed in both worlds. And 1,000 years from now, that'll be a line of demarcation. They will say this was before the digital era and this is after the digital. So I mean, it's pretty kind of cool right there. But Generation X specifically, we are the generation, we are a tiny generation. Why are we a tiny generation? Because the boomer generation is called the boom because there was a baby boom after World War II. When all the soldiers came back, everybody got pregnant all at once, and there was just this massive generation. The country grew exponentially over the course of the next 15 to 20 years because the suburbs were invented. They needed to start spreading out from the urban cities because so many new families were coming. So the boomers were the largest generation of all time. Now, we, Generation X, we are the children of the boomers. What happened with us was our generation came around just about when women started going to work, divorce became acceptable. So families were not sticking around and having 5 kids, even though they're in a loveless marriage the way the boomers did. The boomers stayed married, even though they hated each other and they just kept producing kids. No, we had 1 kid, maybe 2 kids, and then the parents got divorced and, that kind of thing. So we were a smaller generation because the women were working. Our mothers, the boomer mothers, our boomer mothers, they went out in the workplace. They had careers, whereas The other generation, mom stayed home. It was very leave it to beaver. They stayed home and made cookies and, all that kind of stuff. Our mothers worked jobs. We were latchkey kids. Our family units were smaller. And here's the thing with Generation X, if you couldn't have a baby in 1975, you weren't having a baby. That was just it. There were people who were just not going to have a baby. And then another thing happened with our generation that stifled us dramatically. Abortion became legal. Half of our ranks were aborted after 1972 and Roe versus Wade. That wasn't something that existed for the other generations. 16-year-old Susie got pregnant in 1950. Guess what? Susie had that baby. Same Susie gets pregnant in 1978. Guess what? She's going to the clinic. That kid isn't born. So our generation, Generation X, was affected by all of that. Now, how do you explain the big boom in the millennials? Fertility freaking drugs. All of a sudden, there are fertility drugs that come around in the 1980s. We got test tube. People who could not have kids before are now suddenly cranking out not one, not two, but quintuplets. Because remember in the early days of the fertility drugs, they were just, man, this shit is working good. There, it's like a water slide coming through mama. So that's why the millenniums were so big. So you had the boomers who were so big. You had us Gen X in the middle, working moms, abortion, no fertility drugs, divorce, all of those things. So that's why we are this tiny little generation stuck between these two massive generations. And look, we have complaints as well, millennials. We also think the boomers won't get out of the way. We would like the boomers to retire. And you seem to think that you're just going to jump over us, millennials. You think it's like you're next in line. And you know what? They're right, because we are the forgotten generation. Thank you. That's my dissertation on the plight of Generation X.
So the arcade.
We had them. We had them because mom was at work and nobody was watching us, and we would just go spend hours at the arcade, hustling blowjobs for coins.
Yikes! But it's so funny, like how limited our gaming options were. We had to have quarters lined up when a quarter actually meant something.
Mm-hmm.
And you would save your money and you would go, and sometimes you'd blow it all in just a few minutes. And sometimes you could make it last for hours. But that was all the video games you got. When you got home, you could think about video games. You could talk about video games. You could draw pictures about video games, but you couldn't play them.
We had Atari at home, and Atari was okay, but Atari was a far lesser version of what we got at the arcade.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. So we still wanted to go to the arcade. We weren't like the Nintendo millennial who came around in the 90s, where suddenly video games were as good as the shit that was in the arcades.
Yeah, so now it's better at home than it is in the arcades. And the arcades are just for like Chuck E. Cheese kind of, let's collect tickets and see if we can get a stuffed animal kind of thing.
Well, you know what? And you've got kids, so you probably know this.
Jared?
The only reason that my kid, you've been to the one, but you've seen the game setup, right? They got the Oculus helmets, they got the big screen, they got a couple. At this point, I think there's 3 different gaming systems down there. There's a PlayStation 3, there's a PlayStation 5, there's also some other thing. Then you got the helmets. So when my kid comes here, he has no desire to go out anywhere to play his video games. He'd rather walk around in his underwear and a t-shirt and be over in the big house playing in the game room. But the reason that we do go to the Dave & Buster's is because of the VR games. That's the only thing that we can't compete with. And you've got kids too. So I'm sure when you go there, and there's always an upcharge at those places for the VR games.
Oh, yeah. Those are the expensive ones.
Yeah. Those are the ones that are like $10 a ride. What? I've already spent $50 on tokens. You're telling me that $50 can't translate in any way, shape, or form to that stupid Jurassic Park ride you want to go on?
Yeah, do I get a discount for a $6 beer?
Yeah, right. Well, you sit there with a bunch of other angry weekend dads at the bar, hitting on some 22-year-old waitress who's being nice to you because she's hoping you'll tip, but you won't tip because you're behind on child support.
Wow. Got dark on me all of a sudden.
I'm just telling you what they have to deal with. Not me, I'm paid up, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, there's a lot of angry dads at those places. Did you know that this comes out every year? They always the most the most dangerous place in any town, and this is like some stat that always comes out among police chiefs and all that stuff. Most police calls or whatever it is. The most police calls in any town in America is always to the Dave and Buster's or the Chuck E. Cheese. That's always where the cops get called most. And if you think about it, it makes sense because that's where divorced parents throw birthday parties for their kids. And that's where ex dad meets the new boyfriend for the first time, or the new girlfriend meets the kid's mom for the first time. And there's alcohol involved, and inevitably the police show up.
Is there alcohol involved at Chuck E. Cheese? You can't get booze at Chuck E. Cheese. Not even in New Orleans would they sell booze at Chuck
You
E.
can in
Cheese.
Chicago. Yeah, you can. Yeah, they
No
get
way.
you a beer and a pizza. Absolutely. Yeah. We don't have any rules up there. We got we got no rules. The only rule we got up there is you can't have a gun, and you know how that turns out. So
It works perfect. Yeah.
you know, you can but you booze. Our that's our Walgreens. Our Walgreens were always liquor stores, and they still are liquor stores. I come down
Yeah.
here, and I was gonna go get a bottle of wine. I was at a party. I'm like, "Oh, there's a Walgreens down the street. I'm gonna go get a bottle of wine." And like the Texans I was with were like, "You can't buy wine at Walgreens." I go, "What do you mean you can't buy wine? What else they got there?" Like, toilet
Just
paper,
drugs. Yeah.
paper, shampoo. I go, "They gotta have Walgreens. Got to have a giant liquor section. Otherwise, what's the point?" But yeah, but I've had a rough day, James. It's been a difficult one. So here, let's get into this Gen X story. Gen X may be perfectly happy being the forgotten generation as baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z call each other out on social media. But the Illinois State Museum is turning the spotlight on Xers. In October, the museum's Springfield facility will open an exhibition. Oh, it's just an exhibition. We don't deserve our own actual museum. Springfield facility will open an exhibition entitled Growing Up X, dedicated to the last generation to have an analog childhood. Let me tell you something. Springfield, Illinois is like one of the worst hellholes on the planet. It is a terrible place.
Is it? How can it be that bad?
Well, it has been, typically when you go to the state capital is something nice and it's got some, but the problem with Springfield, Illinois is that most of the people with the power in the state of Illinois come from Chicago and all the money is spent up there.
Yes.
Chicago has the nice parks and the nice things and all that. Springfield is just like this hellhole where they have to travel down to vote for things. And it's just, well, it's awful. It is. Getting people to go to this museum, I don't know if that's going to happen. I've been to Springfield a couple of times. I've been to Lincoln's house. I've been to the state assembly there. That was on a work thing. That's it. There's no other reason to go there. But they've got this. It's got this new museum. We think it's time Gen X got some love. Illinois State Museum curator of history Erica Holst said of the generation born between 1965 and 80. See, I told you, you're firmly in our group.
Okay.
We want to dig into the experience of being a child in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Holst added. How did growing up adapting to new technology, often unsupervised, in the shadow of the Cold War, Reaganomics, Just Say No, and the AIDS crisis shape this generation of people who are now coming into their own in middle age? Now coming into our own, like I said, we're in our 50s. The eldest of us are like 60. What do you mean just now coming into our own?
Yeah, the youngest Generation Xer right now would be what, 41?
Someone who's 80. So yeah, if they were born on January 1st, 1980, they would be what?
42.
42. Yeah, so that's the youngest Gen Xer. Or is that, yeah, the youngest Gen Xer. The oldest Gen Xer would be 30, 40, 50, 52, and 5. 57, turning 58 this year.
Okay.
So look, you know what? If we had sunglasses here, we would encompass the entire width of Generation X. You on the young end, him on the old end, and me right in the middle. Me right there, right in the middle of Gen X.
Okay, but I think there's a huge cultural schism in the middle of Gen X, and there's like I don't know a better way to describe it, but the pre-Nirvana Gen Xer and the post-Nirvana Gen Xer. Because I was never down with any bands where the guys like teased up their hair and put on eyeshadow and lipstick and I always thought that was kind of weird. And then when Nirvana came around, I was like, oh, okay, this is my music. I was like a freshman in high school when
Yeah,
Nirvana came out.
but I wasn't either. I mean, there was like the first band that I ever truly liked, and I would consider this to be a quintessential Gen X band, was The Clash. Like The Clash was the first band that I was really into. And then there was all of this British new wave stuff in the 80s that I was really into. You know, you're the Police, Duran Duran, The Cure, you know, bands like that, The Smiths. I was really into them. And the counterbalance to those bands became the Sunset Strip bands. And those were the Poisons and the Motley Crue and the Iron Maidens and all that stuff. That was a little bit more heavier, a little bit more rocky. And that wasn't my thing. That wasn't a lot of my friends think. There were kids in my school who were like, you know, we called them metalheads. They were different than those of us who wanted to go see The Cure or wanted to go see, you know what I mean? They were just, we were the pussies, I guess, and the people who read books. We were pussies who read books, and they were, you know, the guys who got drunk after football games and started fights. But here's the interesting thing about Generation X. You're right. In 1992, Nirvana sort of changed the entire kind of look. But there was a bridge band. The bridge band was Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses was punk, but also had this very Sunset Strip vibe. They were like the band that was a little bit of both. They were punky like the British bands, like the Clash, but then they were also teased up hair. At least in the first album, you know, teased up hair like the other Sunset Strip bands, and then that led to Nirvana. So yeah, that's the bridge. The bridge between the Cure and Nirvana is Guns N' Roses. that's I'll go
I
to my
hear you.
arguing that.
All right, can I run off on you now?
I am a Gen expert. Yeah, you know what? I was, yeah, man, go ahead. Go ahead. Get out of here. Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate you coming by. I got nothing else. As a matter of fact, I'm going to wrap it up too.
Y'all
so we're not,
stop over there.
so we're not going to talk about the thing, huh?
No, no.
Why don't you want to talk about the thing?
Because only there's nothing good that can happen from it. Only bad things can happen. Only bad.
Yeah. And it's just so, it's
bad.
It's just bad. It's just bad. We can go on record as saying that, right? It's bad. And it's safe to say that we were both jaws on the floor. We were just, I mean, did you see it come? Right? I mean, this was like.
Well, I also want to throw out like a bunch of allegedly, reportedly, whatever. Don't get me rolled up in anybody's deposition or anything, bro.
It's not. I read the Secret Service investigation report that's going on. It's pretty cut and dry. It doesn't. Oh, you know what? You had the right way, and I pushed it. We'll agree with this, and I'll send you off. Not looking good.
Totally agree that it is not looking good.
Okay. All right. There he goes. There goes James. All right.
On such a good note, hey, your parting thought of old Parker here.
Today has just been a weird ass day. Say goodbye, James Parker.
Kind of gross. Some days are gross.
Some days are disturbingly gross. All right. There are. Byron says we are a community. Talk about the thing. I don't really want to. This is a news story that broke this afternoon that concerns somebody that I used to work with, a high profile local media person. And it ain't good. Look, if you're listening, if you're in the chat room, the name is being thrown around. All you got to do is Google it. It's just, I'll say this. And like I said, I spent a couple of good hours this afternoon talking with people who I haven't spoken to in A very long time. My phone, I'm getting Facebook instant messages. I'm getting DM'd on Twitter. People that I used to be very close to who are just like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I was hoping you could explain it to me. What is it?" And it's so weird. It is such a I I haven't seen this individual in a decade, probably close to a decade. But I used to see him every single day. We were never friends, like, we never hung out the way, I hung out with the Emil or Aaron or, Coach B or the Harders or, any of those guys. They weren't like he's associated with another show, wasn't a part of my show. But it could easily be said that he was one of the best liked people, you know? And then a thing happens where you don't you c- I always say I always say on well, I guess on both shows, the High Noon show and on this show, that people are complicated, and there is some jacked up stuff. Not me, I'm perfect. No, but I'm pretty open about my depression and all that kind of stuff. And that's typically what I mean when I talk about people are complicated, and I truly believe, and oh, it's easy for you to say, Pugs, but I mean, I truly believe that I am capable of being a good person. Sometimes I fail at that. Sometimes I'm selfish. I'm an only child. Sometimes I'm a little selfish in situations, but I recognize that sometimes I'm a lot of bad things. But I always recognize that and then try to be better or try to make amends for anybody that I've hurt or anybody that I've injured. And I don't think I'm trying to think, like, what is, like, the darkest thing about me? And it's like, "Oh, this is bullshit, Pugs. What, you gonna admit to killing prostitutes or something?" Well, no, I mean, I know, right? It's a tricky place to be. It's like, I've never murdered anybody. I've never molested anybody. I've never raped anybody. I've never So I guess whatever my deep, dark secret might be, and I'm trying to think about what's first of all, it's none of your business, but it ain't dangerous. I can promise you that. But you never know. You never know with people. You just can't. You can think you know them. You can think you like them. You can think that's a good person. That's someone I would let that person, babysit my kid, stuff like that. You can think all of that, and you could be wrong. You could be dangerously wrong. The serial killer that lives next door, he didn't seem like a serial killer, He doesn't, otherwise he wouldn't live next door long. So this story that I really don't want to talk about, and the name that I don't really want to talk about, it hit a whole bunch of us. I mean, James, look at James. James James would talk about anything. James did not want to go into this. And we had talked beforehand about the show. It's like, so how do we do this? Because I got to tell you, I go, everybody's asking me. Everybody's saying, did you know? Well, of course not. And I don't even know what I know now. I don't. I have no idea what I know now. I know that it doesn't look good. I know that not only does it not look good, it looks downright disturbing. It's just such a weird thing. I mean, could you imagine? Well, no, maybe you can. Maybe, people have different experiences than me. I've never had an experience like this where somebody that I thought I knew. I mean, this is a person who, when we were talking about, we should get people on, we should invite people. This is someone who was, on my list of people that I'm like, yeah, man, we should invite them to come on. And this is someone that everybody liked. There wasn't there this at the station. We're talking about the old days. If we're talking about 105.3 live 105.3, this was a station where a lot of people were not liked. This was a station that had different camps. You were in this camp, you were in that camp, you were in the Jagger camp, you were in Pugs and Company Kelly camp, you were in the Russ Martin camp, you were in this camp. There were different camps, and then there were a few people from each camp that was able to sort of float back and forth among everyone because everyone liked them, because everyone, this is one of those people. It's just so incredibly, a terrible joke, but I'll take another drink so that I made a terrible joke to a girl who used to work on my show today. And I said, if I was to make a list back then of the people that I thought were capable, this person wouldn't have even made my top 20. I mean, if I was to look around at all the people that we worked with there, I'd go, yeah, maybe that person. Yeah, maybe. So, I mean, it's just shocking. It's shocking, and it's sad, and it's disturbing, and it's infuriating. It is really infuriating. It is ugly. I don't know what else. What else do you use to describe it? Right? Yeah. Okay. So some of you are Googling. Some of you are under, and that's part of the reason why I'm dressed like a homeless person. I'm drinking. I haven't eaten all day. I started my day out with a funeral. I had an incident with my son. Not an incident, but like a dad thing. There was a situation that had to be handled, and that took a lot of emotional strength to get through that. The funeral took a lot of emotional strength to get through that. I woke up extra early this morning so that I could prep because I had to watch the funeral. And the night before, I had the shits all night, and it was not a good night's sleep. And I haven't eaten anything all day. And around about 3:30 in the afternoon, bling, 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 I start getting these insane news alerts from people. And so this story gets dumped on me. I don't even want to engage with any of the chat. This is as far as I want to go. And I hope that this is okay with you because, for the last 20 some odd years that some of you have been listening to our show, I've never held back on anything that was happening. Come on, man, I got arrested. We got into fights. Got Kelly with her sicknesses. My child dying. I mean, there was real girlfriend breakups, heartbreaks. All of those kinds of things. We always felt that was grist for the mill because what I like to think sets I have a lack of talent in, in doing this. There are a lot of people who do things better than me, but I could always lean on the fact that, well, I can just always be completely honest on the air about everything. And this is the first time that something that everyone wants to talk about is happening, and I don't want to talk about it. It is so disturbing. It is so, it makes you think, man. It makes you, who do I know? Who do we really know anybody? Do you people really know me? Do I really know you? Leslie Collins, I'm so shocked. April wants me to go eat some Reese's peanut butter cups. I would love to, except look at me. I'm a disgusting mess, and Reese's peanut butter cups are not going to do me any good. Jennifer, a little bit too much info. I can't read yours, Jennifer. Let me see here. I'm just going to go through this. I mean, look, obviously, I'm being raw and I'm trying to be honest, and there is no fucking way that I can transition to another topic. So, maybe I'll just work this. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions for me about this without me saying the name, without me talking about the ugliness, the disturbing nature? I'd be happy to do that. April says, I'm very much okay with that. Don't go down the rabbit hole. It's so strange because there is one part of me that is so angry and so feels betrayed and feels duped and feels like, this is monstrous. How could this person be such a fucking hidden monster? And then there's another part of me that goes, holy shit, man. He and I jumped in a cab and rode into the jungles of Mexico trying to buy pot once. And it was one of the most hysterical memories of my life. It was one of the funniest nights of my life was spent with this person. And then I go back to the fuck you, man. How could there be this level of betrayal? I'm not, look, I'm not overstating it. He wasn't my best friend. He wasn't anybody that I even socialized with, but he was somebody that I liked. He was. Well, he was. He was somebody I liked. He was somebody that a lot of people liked. A lot of people out there, they'd be, oh, fuck. Well, okay, that may be true. Both things can be true. He could be somebody that was a lot of fun. He could be somebody that was charming. He was somebody that was very kind. He was very kind. I mean, and apparently that was the lie. That was because apparently he wasn't very kind. Apparently there was something else that was much more evil and disturbing. And the kindness and the fun and the, yeah, man, I got you. Whatever, dude, it's cool. All of that was what, an act? Or can you be both things? See, that's where I'm at. It's like, can you be both things? Can were there people that loved Adolf Hitler? And I'm not comparing the two, but you know what I'm saying? Like, are there people that would go, Adolf Hitler was actually kind of a nice guy if you got to know? Byron, been on many a boat with him on Lake Louisville. Totally blindsided. Kept it deeply hidden. Steve, sorry if I was the one who had to break the news. No, you didn't, Steve, but I do appreciate it. You were, good looking out. You sent it to me, but you were not the person to break it to me, so don't worry about that. Okay, let's call it a night. So there you go. That's my statement on the situation. And it's just it's befuddling. It's bewildering. I got so much I want to say. There is so much that I want to say, but maybe at a later date. Maybe when there is, but I'll say this, man. I'm not the only person who has this weird, conflicted, confused reaction. Like I said, I spent no, not everybody. I've spent a couple hours on the phone talking to a number of people. Some of us are exactly the way I feel, like whatever. Others are, out there making a gallows. Others are like, F that. You got to kill off every good memory that you've ever. This is not okay. And no, I know. Oh my God, we know it's not okay. But how do you balance that? How do you? Like I said, man, I got memories that are real memories. They're authentic to me, and they're good memories. And this person plays a part in them. And now it's like, ugh. It's like, oh, good Lord. So I don't know. It is, Jennifer. It is. Okay, so that's gonna be it, right? You guys get it, right? This has been a weird day for me, and he wasn't even like one of my running buddies, but he is absolutely somebody that I've hung out with socially. He's been to my house. Like I said, we went for like a two. We thought we were gonna die together. We got in a cab in Mexico, looking to buy weed because we had met these girls and we had gotten in this cab and we looked at each other and we thought we thought there was a good chance that we were gonna be killed in the jungles of Mexico, and we didn't, and it all worked out fine, and we had a fun night. And that was one of my crazy stories that I have to tell. And he was my co-pilot on that. And then there was another situation at Live 5, which was the 5th anniversary. Where see, I laugh thinking about the memory. I can't laugh anymore. That's not a memory that I'm allowed to find joy in anymore, because it's gross now. It is upsetting. It is disturbing. It is, and I know, Pugs, I thought you were going to sign off. I know, I keep signing off, but you have to understand, this is not something. Hold on, let me read some of these. Often charming, that's why we keep their secrets. Our brains can't comprehend that such good guys can be that evil. I'm learning that. I'm learning that today, Sharon. Thanks for talking. And you know what? Here's the other thing that pisses me off. Thanks for talking about it. I don't have anyone in my real life circle who even knows who this guy is, but he was part of what I listened to growing up. I wanted to hear a familiar voice talk about it. Yeah. That's the other thing, man. Look, today is, by the way, hey man, it's National DJ Day. It's today's National DJ Day, where you're supposed to think about the great DJs of your past. Well, don't think about this one anymore. Maybe. I don't know. That's the other thing, man. That's the other thing. The story broke today, and it's a real story. At first I saw it and I was like, is this a parody site? Is this some kind of a hit job? What is going on here? This isn't good. And then there were a bunch of follow-up stories from a whole bunch of other news organizations, and they confirm each other's reporting. So it's like, okay, they say this, Fox says this, NBC says this, Yahoo's got this. It's like, okay, so this is real. And then you start to read the details, and innocent till proven guilty. Of course, innocent till proven guilty. Until you read the public details that have been released by the police. I said to Kelly today on the phone, got him cold. I go, this is not this. I don't even know how we debate this. If this is what the police say they have, then it's game over. It is. But innocent till proven guilty. Could be a setup, could be anything. God, if there's like 1% of me in there going, let's just hope that this is a very complicated situation and that somebody wanted him to take a fall. I mean, that's like, at this point, that's 1% of what's inside of me. That, apparently it was somebody else who reported him, who found it. Now I'm going too far. But it sucks. It sucks. It's not cool. It's it's definitely not cool. It's and that's the other thing. I was scrolling around. I don't get on Facebook much, but I jumped on Facebook this evening and I was looking to see what people were talking about and seeing if I'm friends with other people that were on the show that he was on. And I'm looking at their pages and they're talking about it and they can't believe it. I mean, all familiar names, all names if you were a 105.3 listener, all these people that you knew from back in the day, and they are just they're just as confused and just as shocked as I am. And then I'm looking at some of the comments being made by listeners. And listeners, man, you guys are harsh. There's some harsh stuff out there, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying it. I think maybe, you have a right to feel that way. But the people who knew this person are just like in a haze right now. Just like completely stunned, staggered, numb. Can't believe it, but have to believe it. You have to believe it. You have to look at what's being reported by accredited news services, and it's being backed up by police departments and the Secret Service. And you have to go, seems legit. Seems like there's nothing to argue about, right? Seems like so that's that with that. And that's why I didn't prepare anything today for this show. And by the way, this is it. This is where you're going to get it. Unless something crazy erupts that makes it. I won't be talking about it on the High Noon show. I tend to talk about things that are trending nationally anyway, unless there is something of local interest that is trending. Which I suppose this would fall directly in that category. You are such a hypocrite, Pugs. What is this thing about me right now where I know that I should turn this microphone off and I should just go to bed? I should finish my drink. I should make some ramen noodles or some bullshit, and I should just go to bed. What is this thing about me that is saying, yeah, just sit in it. Just sit in it and work your thoughts out. This is kind of cathartic. This is kind of helpful for me. It's also extremely narcissistic, and I understand that. But everything about this whole thing is narcissistic. So, we've crossed that bridge a long time ago, folks. We're just... the other thing that... another thing. The people that truly are around him, the Dans, the Alfies, even by some, extension, although not really, but, Ben and Skin, who are wonderful people. These are all truly wonderful people. This is really tough for them because, Ben and Skin, who are not, let's keep them distance from this because they're just simply another show that's on that station. But those guys are brilliant at their branding. They have done an amazing job. I have nothing but admiration for those two guys. Those two guys are the guys who took over for Kelly and I when we walked out of Live 105.3. And I remember back in the day, I think it was Ben. I called Ben and I said, look, man, I just want you to know that there is not going to be any hatred. There's not going to be any anger. We're not going to send listeners because at that point we were on a different radio station in town. This is not going to be a war. That's not what I want. You guys go for it. You guys guys are great. You deserve it. You earned it. They worked their way up from the ticket, and they proved everybody right who believed in them. So God love them. This has nothing to do with them. But how does this affect Dan? How does this affect Alfie? How does this affect that station? The station will be fine. It's a great station. The station's going to be fine. Dan and Alfie are two wonderful people. Alfie was one of my interns, way back in the day. He's a wonderful kid. So proud. When I hear what that kid has done, when I see what that kid has done, I, again, haven't spoken to him in 12, 13 years, but holy shit, that kid's great. Dan has always been wonderful. They don't deserve this. They don't deserve it. They got blindsided. There's absolutely no... they had to have seen signs. Fuck you. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Nobody would have ever seen anything. No, that's not how this shit shakes out. And there is just... there are repercussions. Good people are going, hopefully not too terribly, but good people are feeling the effects of this. Oh, fuck that, man. Could you imagine? And it shouldn't. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't affect good people. It shouldn't affect... They didn't do a show today. Probably everybody who knew what was going on today when this broke, I'm sure everybody was tuned into the Eagle between 4:59 and 5 o'clock to see what they were going to do at 5 o'clock. And they did the only thing that they could do. They played rock music for a couple of hours. That show did not air today. That show was... But they got to come back. They got to come back, and we need to encourage them to come back, and we need to... if that means you got to call the Eagle and you got to say, you put them on the air because they had nothing to do with this, then that's what we got to do. Because this is some bullshit for some good people who don't deserve to be going through this stuff. What do you think happens with the show now? I don't know. I don't know, Steven. I don't know. I'm telling you what I hope happens. I hope that the community rallies around Dan and Alfie and all of those guys. And, there is no such thing as guilt by... This is not guilt by association. This is a bad guy who apparently did some absolutely absurdly disturbing things. And the people who go to work with them every day, they don't have anything to do with this. They have families. They work their asses off. They're talented individuals. This is... But, you worry about it. You're like... I don't know. Okay, so I've said my piece. Here's another thing. You want me to just make my ramen, my special ramen dish that I'm gonna make? Where I do it with like the peas and the carrots and the onions and the crab and then the ramen noodles, and then I make my special mixture of the wasabi and the soy sauce, and we mix it all together, and it's like the greatest Japanese soup that anyone has ever had. It's just absolutely miraculous. I don't even think my most loyal fans would have any interest in hearing me do that, but I appreciate you, Jennifer. All right, we're going to be done. That's it. I felt, I didn't want to be exploitive. I didn't want to, but it really is at the top of my mind. It really is something that has affected me greatly today. I have got my poetry. There's no fun. There's no fun for anybody. Just the fucking world we live in. I mean, do we know anybody? All right, I love you guys. You support the show, whatever. Yeah, you know how it works. Cash app, whatever, blah, blah, blah. My Bitcoin is taking a beating, guys. My Bitcoin is getting... Woo! Just before I signed on, I got like a warning that said, hey, Bitcoin is in the shitter. I'm like, yeah, it sure is. So, we do accept Bitcoin on the Cash App if you're so inclined. But yeah, if you want to support the show, it's all that shit's down there. That is so insignificant. It's still important, but just. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make my ramen, and then I'm gonna take it's a visual you don't need, but I'm gonna take a long, hot, steamy shower on this cold ass night, and then I'm gonna climb into bed. I'm gonna take a sleeping pill. Oh, it's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna sleep tonight. All right. I love you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you indulging me in my narcissism and in my whatever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come.